The plane was already boarding when the single dad realized something was wrong. He stood frozen in the aisle, one hand gripping a worn backpack, the other holding his little son's fingers a little too tight. People were watching. Some sighed, some looked away, and in that quiet moment, he felt smaller than he ever had before. He thought this flight would be just another hard chapter in a life full of them. What he didn't know was that one simple act of kindness, from a stranger he would never forget, was about to change everything. Before we begin, if stories like this warm your heart and remind you of the good still left in the world, take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Story of Pure Kindness, where real human moments remind us who we can be. The man's name was Daniel. He was 34, exhausted in a way sleep couldn't fix. 2 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with their 5-year-old son, Noah. Since then, Daniel had been learning how to be everything at once: father, mother, provider, comforter, while quietly carrying his grief. This trip wasn't for vacation. Daniel and Noah were flying from Ohio to California because Daniel had landed a job interview that could finally offer stability. It paid better, had health benefits, and most importantly, flexible hours so he could be there for his son. He had scraped together the money for the flight, choosing the cheapest seats possible. Every dollar mattered. The airport had already tested him that day. Noah was tired and overwhelmed, asking questions every few minutes. Daniel tried his best to stay calm, but inside he felt stretched thin. He worried about missing the interview, about rent, about being enough for his son. When they boarded the plane, Daniel quickly realized the seats weren't together. His ticket showed a middle seat near the back. Noah's was a window seat several rows ahead. His heart sank. He approached a flight attendant and explained, apologizing over and over, asking if there was any way they could sit together. The flight attendant checked her tablet and shook her head gently. The plane was full. It was the last flight of the night. Daniel knelt down in the aisle and looked at Noah. "Buddy," he said softly, "you're going to sit right up there, okay? Daddy will be just behind you." Noah nodded, but his eyes filled with tears. He had never flown alone before. Daniel felt every stare around him, every unspoken judgment. As Daniel walked back to his seat, he felt defeated. He strapped in, staring at the seat in front of him, trying not to let his emotions spill over. He told himself this was just another thing to get through. Then, something unexpected happened. Up in first class, a woman had been watching quietly. Her name was Evelyn. She was in her early 40s, well-dressed, calm, and observant. She had noticed Daniel from the moment he boarded, the way he moved carefully, how his shoulders carried more weight than luggage ever could. She pressed the call button. When the flight attendant came over, Evelyn leaned in and spoke softly. "Who's the man sitting in 32B?" she asked. "That's a single dad traveling with his son," the attendant replied. "They were separated because the flight is full." Evelyn didn't hesitate. "Bring him here," she said. "He can have my seat." The flight attendant blinked, surprised. "Ma'am, are you sure? This is first class." Evelyn smiled gently. "I'm sure." The attendant walked down the aisle to Daniel. "Sir," she said, "would you mind gathering your things and following me?" Daniel's first thought was that something was wrong. Maybe he had broken a rule. Maybe Noah was scared. His heart raced as he stood up. When he reached first class, the flight attendant gestured to Evelyn's seat. "This passenger would like you to sit here," she said. Daniel stared, confused. I can't," he said quickly. "That seat costs more than I make in a week." Evelyn stood up and looked at him kindly. "You look like you've had a long road," she said. "Please, sit. Let me take your seat back there." Daniel's eyes filled with tears before he could stop them. "I don't know how to thank you," he whispered. Evelyn shook her head. "You don't need to," she said. "Just let me help tonight." The flight attendant quickly arranged for Noah to move up as well, placing him right beside his father. Noah's face lit up when he saw Daniel. "Daddy," he exclaimed, climbing into the seat with excitement. For the first time that day, Daniel exhaled. As the plane took off, Noah pressed his face against the window, amazed by the lights below. Evelyn sat a few rows back now, in Daniel's old seat, perfectly content. Other passengers watched quietly, some smiling, some wiping their eyes. During the flight, a flight attendant brought Daniel and Noah a meal from first class. Daniel tried to refuse, but she insisted. "Tonight," she said softly, "just accept." Daniel talked quietly with Evelyn later, standing in the aisle. She told him she had lost her own father when she was young, and she remembered how hard her mother worked just to keep going. "Someone once showed us kindness when we needed it most," she said. "I promised myself I'd do the same when I could." When the plane landed, Daniel gathered his things, holding Noah's hand. Before leaving, he turned to Evelyn. "You didn't just give me a seat," he said, voice shaking. "You gave me hope." Evelyn smiled. "Sometimes," she said, "hope is lighter than luggage, but it carries us farther." Years later, Daniel would still remember that flight. He got the job. Life didn't suddenly become easy, but it became possible. And whenever he saw someone struggling, he remembered that night, and he chose kindness. Because you never know when a small gesture can change someone's entire journey. If this story touched your heart, let it remind you that kindness doesn't have to be grand to be powerful. A simple choice, made with love, can lift someone when they need it most. Let's carry that kindness forward, and be the reason someone believes in good again.